Eden Caterers and 15 Hatfields have a strong and long standing relationship. Between them, they have demonstrated that sustainability can be more than just ticking a box. It can become a business advantage. In this episode of Backstage Pass, I'm joined by Joe Harris of 15 Hatfields and Nick Mead of Eden Caterers to talk about how they work together and how they have pushed sustainability forward. Joe is the Deputy General Manager at 15 Hatfields. He's been with them since 2012. He's held a number of senior roles, including Client Services Manager, and now plays a key role in operational delivery and relationship management. He's actually taken on the role of Sustainable Champion. Nick is the Managing Director of Eden, regarded as one of the UK's most sustainable caterers, and has nearly 30 years in UK hospitality. He joined Eden in the mid 1990s and has worked across every part of the business before becoming a Managing Director in 2018. He specialises in sustainable catering practices, helping organisations reduce environmental impact. Our conversation ranges from how the long relationship between Eden and 15 Hatfield started and their involvement with defining a sustainability standard inspired by the Olympics, all the way to providing sustainable food options and what their collected data is revealing. Before we get started, a big thank you to our partners for their continued support. Vivid Inc., Eventflow and their app. More about them at the end of the episode and of course in the show notes. We start this episode with Nick talking about Eden's initial involvement with 15 Hatfields.
Well, obviously we were invited in by Warren, who's previously of 15 Hatfields, at the design stage of the building. CIH were creating I guess the most sustainable venue in central London at the time.
So that's Warren Campbell.
Warren Campbell, yeah. So Chartered Institute of Environmental Health. Yeah, so that is the overarching. Is it not a society? It's a Joe. What is it? It's not a society.
They are a membership organisation, and
Okay.
yeah, exactly, for sort
Yeah.
of environmental health practitioners. And,
So we were always environmentally aware as a company. Obviously, being in this industry, you've got to make sure you're recycling and all sorts back in the day, which was that sustainability wasn't a big buzzword like it is now. So obviously invited in by Warren at the design stage. It was a building site when I first went onto site. I'd known Warren for a number of years working on other projects, and he said, "Listen, this would be great. We know how sort of environmentally aware Eden are. Are you interested in coming in and maybe doing some designing menus right at the outset before the building was finished, kind of like building in sustainability before it even was started? So not a retrofit of sustainability with catering, but in at the start, which was, I said, yeah, jump to the chance. Obviously, as the years went on quite quickly, 15 Hatfields were leading the way, with and Joel pretty mentioned some of the things that they've had and done to build the site. But we got involved heavily with 15 Hatfields when the pair of us were asked, along with a few others, to help redesign the British standard, BS 8901, it was the British standard for event sustainability management systems. Bit of a mouthful, based on the fact that London had won the London 2012 Olympic Games, but they had no real strength when it came to a sustainable development, a sustainable policy. So the plan was that these companies would come together, us being one and 15 Hatfields being another, to become a focus group for rewriting the standard, which we did, which worked really well. We kind of changed it into its more layman terms, and today it's an ISO, so it's now ISO 2012-1, which is the international standard for event sustainability management systems, and it was launched around the 2012 Games. So yeah, it was we shaped the way the industry felt and should act on sustainability.
So you and Eden have had your hand in not just creating it, but seeing it all the way through that standard.
Yeah, from the start. I mean, to be honest, when we first handed the standard BSA 9001 right at the outset, there was a lot of jargon. I mean, it was heavy, and it was, if you want companies, not just caterers, anybody in the events industry, to kind of use the standard to follow, or use the management system to follow. It had to be easy to understand, and it wasn't. So we broke it down. Obviously, a lot of stakeholder engagement in that. I mean, the biggest thing in the standard is stakeholder engagement. So engaging with everybody, being customers, suppliers, neighbours, local authority, the fire service, police service, whoever you might come across, to build all that in, which it kind of didn't do at the start, and really focus on what was sustainable and covering all three pillars. So environmental, financial, and social.
So what's your role been in this, Joe? Because you've been with 15 Hatfields for quite a while in various positions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I started in 2012. By that time, I mean, the relationship between Eden and 15 Hatfields was already really established. I mean, it's always been built on those shared values. It wasn't just, oh, we need a sustainable supplier, you guys tick the boxes. It's been a collaboration throughout. There's been various projects that we've worked on, and it's always been a very open sort of dialogue that we've had. I mean, it's been an opportunity to sort of test different ideas. I mean, Nick and Eden are really good. They really push the sort of innovation of stuff. They're really finger on the pulse with new tech and new stuff that's out there from their operations side. We've always sort of prioritized sustainability within our infrastructure and within all of our operations. And that's why it sort of has really worked really well from the offset. And as I said, there's been some things that haven't worked, and you sort of got to make a few mistakes along the line to realize what's going to work. But yeah, I think it's just like, we've worked together and tried to be as sustainable as possible before sustainability was the real sort of buzzword within the events industry. Because back in 2008, you'd say sustainability to someone, and they'd be like, "Sorry, what?" So,
yeah, it'd be like, oh, you recycle, do you?
yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, that's it.
It's kind of where it went.
That's
You
as far as it
recycle.
went.
You separate your cardboard, and that was about it.
Well,
Yeah.
there's far too many venues and other establishments that are used by the event industry where they think that sustainability is. I know I've mentioned this to other people on other podcasts that it's great that we're really contributing sustainability because we've got a beehive on the roof. That's it.
Yeah.
It's they've ticked the box and they're done. It's too much in the way of ticking the box to say they've done it and then moving on without really really embracing it to actually make a change in their practices.
I think these other venues and caterers, anybody actually in the industry, you've really got to be able to influence behaviour beyond your event. So you make change not for the sake of making change, but obviously our change is all data driven nowadays. Back in the day, there were some things that we worked on with 15 Hatfields were, oh, let's try that, let's do that and see if it worked. Obviously, some of the projects we did I remember doing 100-mile menu back in, I'm not sure if you remember that one. We did a 100-mile menu with the Soil Association, and everything had to be sourced within 100 miles, which is difficult. 100 miles of central London. Yeah, it's when you come down to fruit and veg, I mean, fruit's almost impossible. Veg is easier, obviously very seasonal. Meat and fish, a bit more of a challenge. You don't get many good fish located or fished within 100 miles of central London. Meat's more of an easy issue. But yeah, some things didn't work, and some things have definitely worked.
No, we haven't started fishing the Thames quite yet, so I think don't know if we'll go to that extent unless there's suddenly a lot of salmon in there.
I'm not entirely sure saying locally sourced from the Thames would actually be a selling point at the moment.
I don't think so.
I don't think it would go down so well, yeah.
No, don't do that. Yeah. So, Joe, the demand for more sustainable options, are you seeing that's more coming from the event planners, the people coming to use your facilities, or do you think it's the clients of the event planners who want to use facilities that?
I think it's a real mix. I think it's a real mix. I mean, most businesses now have sort of have it as a real priority. So I think that if they're going to their event planners or agencies, they want to have at least one option that has seen to be sustainable in the mix. I think in a lot of cases, it is still sometimes just a tick box exercise. So people can say, yes, we have sourced from this sustainable venue as well, but here's all the options. But no, I think it's a real sort of driving force for a lot of people. I mean, we started doing a fully plant-based DDR package, so daily delegate rate, about 8 years ago now. And when we first started it, people were like, well, what? Why would I want that? You sort of say vegan to someone, and they say, imagine someone sat in a cardigan knitting lentils together. It's not really what they're looking for. But actually, now these days, a lot more people will go, okay, well, yeah, brilliant. I will try that vegan aubergine massaman curry. I will go for that vegan cake. I mean, and it's delicious. Some people, they're not going to go for it. I mean, if you try and give a vegan curry to a room full of builders, who some of our clients are, they're not going to go for it. So it's like, okay, well, let's change it slightly. Let's give them chicken rather than beef, and just try and change that footprint slightly. But yeah, sorry, coming off track. But yeah, no, I think it's certainly becoming more of a priority for more and more of our clients. Yeah, it's
Definitely expected.
Nick, what's obviously you guys are collecting an awful lot of data from based on what people are ordering from you and demanding from you. What's the data showing you at the moment?
We force data. So we've got, nowadays we've got thousands of clients, which is fantastic. We cater about 40,000 covers a month. So we can kind of push the narrative where before, years ago, we couldn't push the narrative. We were really reliant on a client saying to us, oh, we want this, and we jump and we don't get it. We got to position a good few years ago where we were able to push the narrative with changes. So moving back in the day, we were always 30% meat, fish and vegetarian. That's how it started. And then we slowly moved to a kind of a 40-60, then a 50-50. Nowadays, we're probably pushing closer to 70% veg and vegan on a menu if we're designing it. The importance of reducing meat is massive, and we would always say reduce, but if you are going to use, make sure it's better quality. There's obviously horror stories back in the day of chicken coming from all different parts of the world, and I think we got to be realistic about what we use and why we use it, and not just use it for the sake of it. So yeah, we're pushing the numbers. Ourselves, reductions like carbon intensity reductions this year were over 20%, which is unheard of. Our industry is only really pushing a kind of a 5% reduction year on year in carbon, and we've pushed to 20%. And even our, the pounds, carbon per pound, we're currently at 93 grams per pound. This is the kind of measurements we're making now, 93 grams per pound. And in the industry, that is, an average in the UK is about 320 grams per pound, and in our sector it's between 500 and 650 grams. So we're like huge reductions in carbon intensity over our competitors, which is what we're seeing. But we are seeing now people actively use, well, for years, active people choosing to use Eden because we are sustainable, and it's not a tick box. We have data, it's data driven. We are publishing numbers on our website of actual reductions, and obviously at first you make financial reductions. Being sustainable is a money saver. Obviously once you've done the main changes, then it's a bit more difficult to save money, and sometimes does cost you a bit more on certain things, like when you are using a better quality of meat, for instance. But people are actually actively asking for it, so that's the change we felt.
Yeah, I think we used to have to manage people's expectations a lot more. And as I said, with the whole vegan thing, now people don't sniff at it. I mean, our menus are all 80% veg vegan as standard. And some clients push back on it, but most of them are like, okay, fair enough. I mean, that's testament to you guys over at Eden, because the vegan dishes that you're pushing out are some of the nicest stuff on the menu. I mean, it's really flavorful, and some of the products that you're managing to source, it's fantastic. And if you give someone a delicious bowl of food, don't tell them what it is. If it's delicious, then what. Yeah, there's
I
no
think
harm
you've got
there.
to also be prepared to have not the argument, but you need to give them the facts.
Yeah.
Right. For instance, we stopped tuna on our menu about 15 years ago, and then probably about 9 years ago we taken beef off the menu. Um, and I think maybe we had one pushback on the tuna back in the day, but once you explain the argument, like we'd only supply pole and line caught, and it was far too expensive, and it's not shored here, so that was obviously a reason. With the beef, obviously the whole thing around the welfare and obviously the amount of the carbon and the emissions it will create, and you need really good quality. Once you give the argument to the customer and say, well, this is why we're doing it, they kind of understand. And we don't get pushbacks on that kind of stuff anymore because they know we kind of shout about why we do things different.
Yeah, it's crucial, isn't it? You need to be
Yeah,
able to back it up and say, well,
you have to.
actually, here's the carbon footprint of 100 grams of beef, and here's the carbon footprint of 100 grams of chicken. If you serve that to 300 people, that's the impact that it's having. So, that's making then they can make the informed decision.
Joe, Nick mentioned a 70-30 split in favour of vegetarian. Is that, do you see those figures? I know you mentioned 80% of people
Yes.
choosing, so you're kind of slightly above that.
Yeah, so Eden have put a bespoke menu together for our venue. So we just sort of said a few years ago now, well, do you know what? That's fantastic. I think you were up to 60, maybe 70% at that point, and we were like, we want to push the bracket. We want to go 80%, and it was sort of a statement as well. And when we first did it, we didn't tell our clients that we'd done it. We just tested the water with it. And most of them, there was no real pushback because the options that are available, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago when we changed it now, and even then, there was some really delicious stuff on the menu, and yeah, it worked really well. So yeah, I think it was a statement from our point of view. I mean, we would sort of go to clients and get their feedback afterwards and say, well, the lunch, how was it? We actually 80% of that was vegetarian or vegan, and they're like, oh right, yeah, okay. So yeah, so it was a good way of kind of testing the water with it, and that's still our ratio at the moment. And as I said, there's certain clients, like the builders and the train drivers, they need their bacon butties, but other clients they love it. So yeah,
And it's good. I mean, if you are supplying meat, we just got to make sure it's good quality. You know,
100%.
that's the difference. We're not saying there may be a day when we are 100% vegan and veg. I doubt it. From my point of view, I enjoy good meat. Um, there's nothing better than getting if it's a nice beef or a nice good quality bacon. But there is a lot of rubbish being dished out a lot of the time, and then you really can notice. So yeah, if you're going to do it, make sure it's high quality.
So we mentioned, well, you mentioned it briefly, Nick, how it's actually, I suppose to put it basically, it's profitable to go sustainable. There is not just savings to be had, but if people are demanding sustainable options, then you're attracting new customers and new opportunities.
Definitely. I mean, it's money, definitely a money saving at first. If you've not done any of the sustainable changes, there's definitely money to be saved at the start. And obviously, as you need to we built a USP on the back of sustainability. That was our thing, and obviously then our menu choices are another thing. And then because everybody's more, I guess they're health aware now. The whole of the UK is everybody's health aware. Every time you switch on TV, it's always about health and fitness. And I think that's led into people choosing the healthier option, as well as saying, okay, sustainability is a thing. Our company demand, if it was a big corporate, our company is demanding that we look in every area of every purchase we make to try and have a corporate responsible option. And there are not many of us doing it. So we do attract um, more inquiries based on that. Some of our clients will only use us because of sustainability. Obviously, it's great food as well, but it's something they approach us for first.
Yeah. So from our point of view, we push our plant-based DDR package, and we're happy to offer that at a cheaper rate than we can do a lot of the other packages, because the the dishes on Eden's menus, for example, they are actually, a lot of them are cheaper than the meat dishes, etc. So there's a cost saving that we can pass on to our clients.
Yeah, I mean, but I remember, I've been doing this for over 30 years, and I remember back very early on, maybe 20 odd years ago, when a vegan, we'd have a vegan, oh no, and you get an order, someone's a vegan, you go, oh my God, it's a vegan. And you'd be like rushing around, what can we create? And it would be, most of the time, it'd be avocado and salad. And it was really limiting, but it's not anymore. The menus have been designed in a way now that actually the vegan options, and not necessarily the meat alternative, even though we've got a couple of amazing meat alternatives. A shout out to Simplicity, who are doing great things. But menus have been designed with a bit more enthusiasm now around vegans, because there's so many people wanting the healthier option, or they're vegan and they're not vegan. Sometimes they're not vegan because they don't want to eat meat. They're just like, well, it's actually a better choice. So yeah, we are seeing that.
I'm still finding from time to time when I'm invited somewhere, for a look around a hotel or some venue. Um, there's evening drinks involved. I don't drink alcohol, so that's one challenge. Would you like a glass of champagne? No, I don't. Thank you. But when you say that you're vegetarian, if you've not been asked what your dietary requirements are before, when you arrive, you say, no, I don't eat meat. There's sometimes you get that look of panic on their face.
Yeah.
They're not quite sure what to do next, and it kind of surprises me that that would be the case.
I see it. I mean, I don't go to as many events as I used to, but I definitely see that. I see that look in people's faces when they say, "Oh, I'm vegan," and the caterer really hasn't, or the venue hasn't catered for them. You know, it's not hard. Not nowadays. You can really come up with some really nice alternatives, um, and it should be inclusive. And sometimes it feels like it's not inclusive still, um, which I find really, really strange.
So looking forward, then, I mean, what do you think the event industry is going to do to change their ways to? Because if it is more profitable, if it means you can, everybody's talking about tighter budgets these days. So if there's a way of saving a few pennies here and there, so you can keep that client on and make sure you're providing what they need. What does the event industry need to do you think, to in a sustainable way to make a difference, to push the message on and meet the demands of young people who seem to be leading the way when it comes to healthier vegetarian or vegan options?
Well, I mean, I'd always advise caterers or venues to build fewer but stronger partnerships. There's no, having a list of 30 suppliers. You've got four different meat suppliers and two different fish. No, if the one thing we would always say is that make your partnerships fewer and deeper. So make those stronger. Um, and get the data in. You want to see what people want, and look what others are doing. Um, and building sustainability from the start. If you're designing something, think of sustainability in mind. Obviously, we always think of sustainability first, and then it's down to quality and price. Can we make it right? And can we sell it at the right price? We still have to make money. That's being sustainable. Is making money is sustainable. And being honest with clients about trade-offs. Um, I think that's the way forward. That's the advice kind of I would give to any venue or caterer.
Yeah. No, I think like sustainability will only work if it's authentic. Like that, you have to have those measurables. And I think if you were from a client side approaching a venue and they say they're doing certain things, I mean, people see through greenwashing now. It's like people ain't dumb. They can say, okay, yeah, you've got a few recycling bins around, but look at all these um, disposables, things like that. But yeah, no, I think you just need to. It needs to be credible, and that comes action, whether it's like from the building, how it's run, from where the food is sourced from, how the team operates. It just all needs to be sort of transparent. I think transparency is really key.
because you do get clients asking more informed questions nowadays. Clients are not stupid.
Yeah.
They will ask you the right questions. The amount of times we go for tenders now, and it's a huge CSR section, and they want every copy of every report we've got. They want our carbon score. Now, that's a new thing. That's been the
Mm.
last maybe 18 months where you're have you got a carbon score? Do you measure your carbon? What is it? And then sending them every single document, and real measurable results. And don't be afraid to show those results. The whole thing about being sustainable, and if you're trying to reduce carbon at the same time, is actually being honest and saying, "Oh, this is what we've done." And if you haven't made a reduction year on year for whatever reason, well, then say it and say why. Oh, because of this, or because of that. You know, this is not done by magic. This is hard work, and as long as you're being transparent and open, I don't think people mind failures. If you are, we're really struggling with this, and talk to people. I host a stakeholder a group of clients and suppliers, and it's the whole thing is about just sharing knowledge. What something that Joe may have done at Hatfields may be different to another venue, and they go, okay, well, this is what we've done to overcome that problem. And sharing is fantastic, and that's the whole thing about being sustainable, is actually not closing all the information to yourself. Don't keep it locked away. Sharing information, because we can't do this alone, and
Definitely.
it's definitely a journey without an end. So keep sharing information.
Yeah. And it's not about being the most sustainable. We will actively help other venues to be as sustainable as possible. We will share all of our practices with them, and we've got a Green Gauge EcoSmart Platinum accreditation, and we're part of their Platinum Inner Circle. So it's a group of like-minded venues who have all got that same accreditation. We meet quarterly to discuss challenges, to discuss new ideas, new products, things that are out there. And it's like you say, it's knowledge sharing, and then also accountability. Like, if something's not working and it's, oh, okay, that's not the best way of doing it, share that information as well, because you don't want other people to fall into those same pitfalls. It's just that, yeah, that feeds into the transparency thing again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as you said, Nick, it's continuous improvement. It's not a race to a finish line.
No, definitely not. There is no finish line for this, unfortunately, and that's the sad thing about it. We're not going to solve this problem. We can help the issue, but we're not going to solve the problem. Unfortunately, it's just the world we live in.
No,
But I think if we're all doing as much as we possibly can, we can make this a lot better. And unfortunately, a lot of our issues over recent years have been government-led. Government change policy quite a lot, and keeping up with that policy is even harder. There was a whole push a few years back to go with a polylactic acid product. So it's to get away from using plastic, we would move to PLA. Now PLA at the time was sold as the dream for caterers, for packaging, because you're going to be able to commercially recycle it, and we're going to build these commercial recycling plants to do that. Well, we had COVID hit, and that kind of went out the window. These recycling plants never really came about, and then they realised that actually the PLA, which is made from cornstarch, one is taking feed away from animals in other parts of the world, and it's also, if it then goes into the waste stream, it can contaminate food waste. Now, technically, it is food, but once it goes in with food, it then contaminates food waste, which then stops the recycling. We want to be able to anaerobically digest food waste, so it can be reused as fertilizer or compost. But that can't happen. And then there's a whole mix of, okay, well, we dropped PLA. Okay, what do we do now? The whole vegware brand was built on the back of PLA. So now, actually, going back to plastic, but recyclable plastic is actually better. Plastic's actually a really good product as long as it doesn't enter the food chain or enter the sea. If it's recycled properly, and it's easier to recycle um, grade one plastic than it is to recycle most other things. Clear plastic can become clear plastic again. But they keep changing. You have to keep on with, what's the new thing? We have to keep on with legislation. We have to keep watching. Things are banned, things are not banned. This is good now. This is not good now. So it's you got to keep, like Joe said before, you got to keep your finger on the pulse. We introduced we did some research and some work with on a product called BOP. So it's we wrap our food that goes to clients in a plastic. Before that was PLA, and now it's a recyclable plastic, which has got an additive in it that if it does end up in standard recycling, it will biodegrade and end up as wax because of this additive that's used. And then the microbes eat the wax, so it becomes circular. We've closed the loop. Those little things make huge differences for us, but we just need more of them and more people investigating and working on these changes.
Well, that's an interesting thing. Joe, do you feel that there's enough visibility of sustainable projects, especially the ones that are working?
I mean, yes, I think people get fatigue from it because there's so much out there now that people are talking about sustainability and all the rest that it kind of falls on dead ears in a way. But yeah, I mean, it is about singing from the rooftops about all of this stuff, really. Yeah.
So I was thinking if you want the industry to change in any shape or form, they've got to see sustainability working. They've got to see the
100%.
projects that are coming through. People are talking about the results, sharing measurements and metrics, and actually able to see the projects working so they can look at their own world around them and say, what can we do to make a difference?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as long as the client experience when they're coming to an event at our venue, that's not impacted negatively because they've come to a sustainable venue. They can see that it's a well-run event and a venue that's designed with environmental impact in mind and supported by sort of responsible caterers. And then it normalizes using a sustainable venue.
Yeah, obviously our industry has a massive effect on sustainability. Bringing an event together compresses a huge amount of impact in a short time frame.
Mhm.
Not necessarily the events that we host at 15 Hatfields, but you imagine you're putting on a festival or you're putting on a concert, the amount of infrastructure and impact in a short space of time that creates. Everybody has got to be pulling together. Everybody. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You've got food, energy, transport, waste all happening at once. On one day sometimes. You've got to be really mindful of what impact we're all making and how to sort of change that impact. It's a difficult one, but it's one that we all have to, we have to keep doing it. We have to keep innovating, sharing knowledge. These stakeholder groups are fantastic. I sit on a couple of my own and a couple of even a couple of my clients have got stakeholder groups and sit on and you just share information because I say something that Joe's doing, someone else might not be doing, and it's all just, practice. If we're practicing something that's working, I'll sit on.
Yeah.
There should be more of that.
And sometimes it's the tiniest thing, and it's like it makes a small improvement. But if everyone starts doing it, then that's tenfold. And
Yeah.
it's like if thousands of people start doing this one tiny thing, then there's an impact, a positive impact. So
Yeah.
it's yeah,
Well, if it works in events, it works anywhere. It's not,
exactly.
and we always say, I mean, even our anybody that works for us has to sit. It's maybe stressful. They have to sit a sustainability Q&A when they first start. So we have a document they have to read. Then they have to do a Q&A on it. It's one of their training modules when you start with us. And it's a lot of things that we do here. You can do at home. It's not anything. Anything can be replicated. Recycling, using all of the food in your fridge. When you're looking at a carrot in the fridge and it's got a bit soft, that can still be used. Put it into a stew. Just binning it is not the answer. And you can replicate what happens at work and to what happens at home. And it saves money.
Yeah,
Well, if you are going
100%.
to bin that lonely carrot, not use it, I mean, make sure it goes into your compost heap.
Yeah,
So,
if you're
Definitely.
not going to, yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not sure how you would end up with one lonely carrot. I mean, what's
Just
yeah,
throw it in.
yeah, just
Just
chuck it in.
chop it up.
Yeah, no matter what you're making.
No.
Yeah, that's so cool. So to finish up then, trends for this brand new 2026 year. What do you see coming down the line?
For us, it would be more quality and provenance over excess use, I guess, with food. So even better, you know, we're all about buying as close to the UK as possible. Obviously, that is not in practical terms on the volumes we supply. That's not actually practical. But where we can, you know, meat, fish, and poultry, farmed or shored in the UK. That's where we're at, and that's where we've been for a long time. More of that will be fantastic from everybody, and I think choosing quality and provenance over the excess is kind of one of my key things. And low carbon meals menus becoming normal. You know, people will ask us, okay, what is the carbon? What is your carbon score? Or obviously low carbon, then you're losing out on a bit on certainly on the red meat. Chicken is okay. That's for us. That's where we see 2026. More people are going to have more plant forward expectations around menus, and yeah, creating stronger partnerships from fewer suppliers.
Yeah, I think that's really key. And from our point of view as well, it's probably from the carbon point of view. We offer a carbon measurement for every event that takes place. So from the second that the delegate steps in the building, we're measuring the time that they're in here, what rooms they're using, what menu items they've got, what packages they have, and then we were producing a carbon measurement and presenting the client with a certificate at the end and say, okay, well, because you've used us as a sustainable venue, here's the carbon footprint estimated for your event. And I think that goes a long way, because I think people increasingly want to understand how much carbon their event is creating. And in the same way that they want to know where their food is coming from and how the building operates. Does it have renewable energy sources? What impact does it have having the event here rather than somewhere else?
I also think that obviously venues and clients are going to have less tolerance for vague sustainability claims.
Yeah.
Obviously, greenwashing is huge, and still, unfortunately, I still come across it with some competitors, and you can spot it a mile off. You can actually spot it where nobody's, a particular company's we know has done no real groundwork on sustainability, but they're achieving huge sustainability scores. And I look at it and go, well, hold on a minute, how's that possible? And you can spot it. So I think clients will they won't have the tolerance for any sort of vague sustainability claims. You need the data.
That's it, and people aren't scared of asking you
Yeah,
to back it up. Like you said,
yeah,
people will want it all. They want all your accreditation.
yeah,
So just make sure your house is in order. Don't
yeah.
claim something if it ain't true.
Well, as you guys have said earlier, I mean, with the demand for carbon scores going up and a lot more focus on ESG, which I never remember what it actually means. Uh, any idea? I can't remember. But with all this demand for more metrics and more measurements and more estimations of your carbon footprint, it's going to make things very much more interesting this year for 2026.
Environmental social governance is the what you was ESG, Bob.
Right, okay. I need to
Yeah,
write that down on a big piece of paper and stick it on
environmental,
the wall.
social, and governance. I guess it's yeah, people have got to be. I think people should be worried. I think other caterers and venues or anybody that is shouting that they're sustainable expect to have it scrutinised, be
That's
called
it.
out,
Mm.
and don't be afraid in calling people out. Um, because if you call someone out and it's right, fantastic. But if not,
Yeah.
then they'll actually learn. Oh, do you know what? We might have to start doing things slightly differently if we're going to
Yeah.
have these claims.
No, if they are, then they're going to have the accreditation to back it up, and they're going to
Yeah,
have the carbon scores and everything
yeah,
else, and it's just be like, bam, there you are. It's there
yeah,
in black and white. And if they
yeah.
don't, then what else are they lying about?
Yeah, well, that's it. And there
Cool.
is a lot of low hanging fruit in our industry to become sustainable, things like buying renewable energy, buying biogas. These are small wins, quick wins, which are huge. And just start knocking them off, slowly. But these are things you can do.
Yeah,
Start with the low hanging fruit, and then obviously as you go deeper into sustainability and reducing carbon, then it gets harder. Then you have to make some real changes. I think, okay, doing like we've done lots of food swaps recently, so reducing lamb or removing lamb and increasing chicken, and plant-based cream over straightforward dairy cream. All these little things make massive differences, and that's the kind of granular detail that you end up having to get into.
definitely. Yeah, you got to start with those things that you can actually control,
Yeah,
and you can't be striving for perfection because there's no such thing as a perfectly sustainable business or
no,
organization or
no,
venue. Like it's a journey that everyone is on. It's never going to be like a finished shiny product. Like here you are, we are fully sustainable. It's like okay, well,
yeah,
what? Yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's not
yeah. I
so
think you're right.
much. It's not so much you're worrying what your competitors are doing. It's just, are you 1% better than you were yesterday?
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
just
just
base it on that alone, and you'll
Um,
do better.
Yeah, prove that you're on the journey and you're making strides. I mean, the thing is, it is so time consuming researching and keeping up with trends and everything else. Like, it's impossible to keep up with everything. And it goes back to the whole knowledge sharing thing as again, because that is just crucial.
it is back to where I mean, I wasn't born in the 50s or the 40s, but it is back to being back to basics, actually making food from the raw ingredient. Hey, what about that?
Yeah.
That's that thing that we had a whole two generations of children at school not knowing how to do that. Turning the light off when you leave a room. Things my parents taught me. Don't leave the tap running.
Yeah.
Those are basic, sustainable um, things that have been around since day dot. You know, just need
Uh,
to get back to those.
that. I mean, I've just started baking my own bread. It's not very nice, but I've started. But as you know, I
Got to
was just
start
sort of,
somewhere.
well, that's it. I mean, you look at the back of a bread of loaf, a loaf of bread in the supermarket, and it's like, what is all this stuff? I'm putting
Yeah,
this into my children. I'm going to start trying to bake my own. Okay, at the moment they won't eat it because it looks like it's been in a few rounds in a boxing ring, but I'll get there with it. But yeah,
fine. That's it.
yeah,
To be
Yeah,
honest, I find cooking so relaxing. It's just a way of switching off. So I can understand the whole bread making thing.
yeah,
yeah.
It's really
Music
cool.
on. I'll be in my world of my own. Music's on. I'll chopping away. Maybe a glass of wine on a Saturday night.
maybe, yeah,
Maybe. Um,
Yeah,
nice.
don't have too many, or you might be missing a finger or two.
well, that's it. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
meant to be vegan. There's a fingertip in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, can you imagine going to a restaurant? Excuse me, waiter, there's a finger in my soup.
Yeah,
Yeah, disastrous. Let's finish. But I did say we're going to have one more thing. So, very last thing. What's the one tip you would share so people could be just that little bit more sustainable in their daily activities?
Okay. One tip from me um, is do a non-tunneled vision walk around your business. Walk around, without your blinkers on, and look at everything. And this is how over the years we've been in and advised with competitors and clients, and that's what we do. Go walk around with your eyes open and go, right, okay, question everything. Don't be afraid to question things. That would be my tip.
nice. Um, Good question. From a personal point of view, I try to limit my the amount of meat. I have 2 vegetarian or vegan days a week. But from a sort of business point of view, um, I think it's question everything really. Question why are we doing this? Why have we made the decision to do this? Is it how much impact is it having? That we've applied that to other parts of our business. I mean, we've recently had a new person start, and I'm very open to change. I think that's a really big thing. Be open to change, um, and that's you can get set in your ways. I mean, I've been working here since 2012, so it's easy to just sort of get stuck treading water and doing things the same way. So be prepared to be challenged as well as challenge other people.
Huge thanks to Joe and Nick for their time and for their insights. There is definitely much more to talk about. So if you want to hear more from this episode's guests, then please leave a comment or get in touch via EPN Journal. And a big thank you to our partners for their continued support. Vivid Ink, PR and social media marketing specialist for the event industry. Eventflow, the secret weapon for events teams who have had it with PDF exhibitor manuals. And Their.app, for holistic management for on-site projects, including opt-in sharing of live teammate locations. You can show your support by liking, subscribing, and by leaving a comment. Thank you so much for listening.